not on today's agenda, please indicate by clicking on the raise hand icon on the bottom of the screen.
Let's see. Mr. Chair, I do not have any requests to speak.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the second item on today's agenda, the agenda status report.
And then, Mr. Chair, I do not have any changes to today's standard agenda.
Moving further along, everybody was emailed in advance the agenda as well as the June 25th meeting minutes. I'm hoping that you all have had a chance to review those. And if so, would you like to amend or revise any of the meeting minutes?
They look good to me.
They did to me as well.
I'm good with everything.
I'm also fine with it.
Perfect. With that said, then I'll ask for a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
I so move.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Perfect. Thank you very much, Joe.
I do want to say that they were well written.
They were.
Yes.
And I appreciate you, Leah, getting them to us when you did. As there is nothing on today's consent agenda, I'd like to open up discussion with the NBAR informational briefings. I want to let you all know that I had a chance to meet with the other chairs, and we are moving towards in-person meetings. Both applicants, members, board members, and the public will still be able to log on to a Zoom meeting and participate remotely. I think as they work through the logistics of that with some of the other bars, we will be getting together. We're just needing to find space and equipment so that we can facilitate the meetings both in person and online.
Does that mean we'd each have a computer?
I think more than likely we'll have a central computer with a monitor, kind of like we have in the boardroom at the county, and via table mic, do it that way. So I think they're just trying to get some of the other bars the equipment and or facilities that they need before they implement the in-person meetings. Again, you guys will have the opportunity to log in remotely should you choose to do that. I would encourage, however, that as we get everything closer to that time that we actually come in and do the meetings, chances are they'll be at the county offices on the Arabia. So we'll see. I'd like to see y'all back in there again. So, but again, if you have any objections to that, you can always log in remotely. Is there do any other of the members have contact with their applicants and or supervisors? Okay, not hearing anyone. We'll move on to the next item on today's agenda, the staff update.
Eric, do you have any updates?
No updates for today.
Thank you. Well, with that, we'll move on to the first item on today's agenda, the Tyler Winery, BAR number 19-00070. If the applicant would like to introduce himself and the team, we'll go ahead and get started.
Yes, good morning. This is Julia Oberhoff. I'm the agent representing Justin Willett, who is the applicant and property owner and winemaker at 4805 Highway 246, Tyler Winery.
Thank you. Would you like to run the exhibits or?
I can certainly share my screen if that works, or however you guys would like me to move forward.
I think if you can, it'd be a little bit quicker if you go ahead and share your screen. So.
Absolutely. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so it's been a while since we were in front of your board. Actually, a couple years and a couple months here. Our last visit was back on May of 2019, and not that I want to dive too much into the previous design, but I will just give you a visual. This was the initial project scope and design. There are basically two buildings on the site, which we were locating to in the northeastern corner of the parcel. We've since gone through, since 2019, we've been working with our planner, Shannon Reese, going through the environmental review, getting a biologist on board, going through coordinating with EHS and whatnot, all the different agencies. But for several different reasons, the client, Justin, decided to make a significant design change from this original design of two buildings to what you are seeing today and what I'll present, which is still a development in the northeastern corner of the parcel. The biggest difference is that we have moved away from building one here being a two-story building in that original design to now being a single-story building and creating a cluster, a courtyard effect with these four different buildings, each serving a different purpose in the winemaking process. And the reason for moving away from the original design was really to create a more efficient operational flow with winemaking, and really recognizing that what the second story was serving, which was office space, administrative needs, and then also guest serving, appointment only component. It didn't necessarily need all the grading work and all the effort bringing that secondary road and turnaround up top, and that we could really achieve that with a much more understated and simpler design through building 4 down here where my cursor is. So just to back up a little bit more, if you weren't familiar, here's the overall property in Google Earth. Street view is right here. Actually, wait, let me see if I'm turned around. I might be. Hold on one second. No. Yeah, I am. Isn't quite looking right. Let me go back. There we go. Okay, so here's the vineyard fronting Highway 246. And if I zoom in here, you can see there's the existing residence. And then where this grouping of trees are and where these cars are is approximately where these single-story buildings are going to go in the northeast corner of the property. There will be, this is a shared easement, which links to adjacent parcels to the north. And so this road will be improved to CAL FIRE standards, coming all the way off of Highway 240, or, from down here where the gray hatched area is. As you approach, the intent of the layout is there's 2 gate entries, both of which we've reviewed with County Fire to make sure we're providing adequate access and addressing their needs. But the first gate, the southern gate, would be a gate primarily used for access to the existing residence and ranch house, but then also giving guests who are coming for an appointment access with a small grouping of parking spaces here to the south of the building cluster. The secondary gate would be used more for production needs, as this area, which is shown with a lighter hatch, is a concrete working space, so to speak. And then the center area is just outdoor gathering space. So I think I briefly touched on building 4 is offices. I'll go through the floor plans and elevations here shortly. Offices and guest serving space. Building 2 is wine production, the tank room, and couverie. Building 1 is barrel storage and case storage, and building 3 is an accessory ag building for farm equipment. This is an estate vineyard, so there is plantings here as well as an additional vineyard block here to the north. Feel free to interrupt if there's any questions so far. So I'll just quickly go through the floor plans.
I do have one question. How high is your office above the road directly below it? I don't see a grading plan yet.
Oh, yes, I'll get to that here shortly. That was another reason why we kind of worked on this. You can see this is showing a good look at sort of existing topography. The hillside, building 1 will be banked into the hillside quite a bit, but we're trying to work with contour to minimize slopes for this circular vehicular path, keeping them below, I think, 6%. Our civil engineer is on the call, but we're picking a contour here below this bench right here. So these buildings, they're pretty much at grade with your gate entrance here, and then that sets the stage for the finished floor elevation for each of the 4 buildings.
Thank you.
So floor plans, this is building 1, which, as I mentioned, there's a cold room for, storing grapes if they come in at an hour and they don't get crushed until the next day. Barrel room and case good storage. Building 2, a little bit more technical, but on the north wing, we've got our tank room. On the south wing, we've got the fermentation couverie room. And then in the middle is a core of services such as the lab, restroom, and some storage space. The stairs are indicating mezzanine storage spaces, which would be directly over the restroom and over part of the storage lab. So those stairs don't suggest, you'll see in the elevation, they don't suggest a bump up in the elevation. It's just within the envelope of the building. This is a simple floor plan for the ag storage building, just giving tractor access. And then this is building 4, a small building, which you'd come in from the east, from that parking area to a small reception area, an informal kind of living room setting for those appointment tastings, staff break room, 3 offices to serve approximately 5 staff, and then accessible restrooms. These are just going through roof plans. I won't spend too much time on this unless we need to come back to them, but I'll jump quickly to the elevations. So this is the elevation that you would see of building 1, which is that barrel storage building. These are building 1, is a pre-engineered metal building. The exterior materials would be stucco prominently, but where the retaining walls exist, we would have cast in place concrete, which for the most part would get veneered with a natural stone veneer, not cultured, but a true stone veneer. And then along the north elevation and potentially the east elevation, we would just change to a standard smooth finished gray concrete. And that's consistent with what's just been indicated here on the material legend. Any outdoor lighting would be downward facing, dark sky compliant. And so we've indicated those locations on the elevations, mostly pairing them with entrances into the building. Building 2 is the tank and couverie room building. And again, similar material palette, standing seam metal roof. I don't think I mentioned that for the previous building. These are low slope roofs, but we will do, the appropriate detailing, ice and water barriers and whatnot to coordinate with the standing seam metal roof. This building does have what I'd call spandrel glass. It's like a seamless glazing system on the south and east corner here, and that's just to give guests, visiting an opportunity to look into the couvery, which has these beautiful wooden oak tanks. Some detailed elements just here, stone veneer at the base of the glazing system there, and then all of the doors will be a painted metal, like hollow core metal, door systems and or roll-up doors. The ag building is also a pre-engineered metal building. We're changing up the siding here. This one is the building furthest to the east, which faces that easement road, and just in character with its use, we just wanted to change up the materials. So this will be a vertical applied tongue and groove, likely a cedar siding, but in order to do that, it's a rain screen detail, and would be where one particular product that we're looking at is hewn, but it's to be determined, but it'll be stained to get this somewhat weathered look that you see in the rendering. And then lastly, this is the smaller building 4. This is the elevation, similar palette, a nice warm white smooth stucco. We're looking at a couple different window systems, but they would be aluminum clad and or a steel window. We need to make sure, obviously, we're complying with Title 24 and energy efficiency. But so just a change in roof elevations, a lower set roof over the offices, and then a higher set roof over that hospitality or reception living space. And then this is indicating we'd have a pergola system on the north and east sides, which would have retractable shades. And you can see that here as well. So this is the east elevation as you approach the building. And then this is the south elevation as you drive in. So seeing that standing seam fireplace element on the east side. Again, with the same stone veneer that we'd be using at the other 3 buildings, or 2, I should say. This is that elevation facing east with the outdoor patio. I'll go to the landscape plan here in a moment so you can see that outdoor context. And then this is the north elevation. We have a couple of other site details. So your entry gates, similar palette of vertical stained wood boards for the gates. These would be swing gates, and then stone veneer pilasters. This here would be a monument sign, which we've indicated down closer to Highway 246. I'll show that where it is in the site plan. A small, at a height of 4'6" and approximately 8 feet long with the Tyler label. And then this is just an elevation of the small trash enclosure, which is accessed from the easement road on the eastern side of the property. Moving forward, these are a couple of context views of the existing site. So here's a view looking west, and you can kind of see, I'll zoom in right here. There is a existing road that comes into the site right through here up to the residence. And so these views, you can see that road right here. Looking at the planted vineyard block and the hillside. This is standing on top of that hill looking down to where the buildings would be placed, just north of the existing vineyard, which is here on the south side. This is a view looking east from that hillside that building 1 banked into. And then these are views atop the hill and then looking north, kind of at the knoll that's existing on the property. This page here just shows you some context views. I'll zoom in a little bit, but I don't want to move around too fast. This gives you an aerial of the 4 buildings in that central courtyard. This is a rendering showing the entry into building 4. This is a rendering looking from the eastern patio at building 4 towards buildings 1 and 2. And then this is the north elevation of building 4. We do have a landscape plan. We've been coordinating with our biologist. There were a couple of different recommendations that he had in terms of native plants, but the plant palette is all drought tolerant. You can see our Lucal's plant factors here are all low plant factors, so low water using natives, primarily clustered around the courtyard space of building 4, but then also planting along Easement Road as you come up from Highway 246, and then giving a bit of planting, screening building 3 here, and then just some intermittent planting along this pathway leading up to the residence. The last few pages here are civil grading plans. So on this plan, you can see we do have a detention basin over here, which would get planted. Like I said, Lydia is from Coast Engineering's on the line, so she can also answer any questions. But you can see here how we plan to deal with the grades to allow for building 1 to be set into the hillside there, which is really going to reduce the silhouetting of that building. The slope, these are all proposed grades back here. These are at, I believe, a 3-to-1 slope, which is still plantable. And all 4 of the buildings are set at the finished floor elevation of 448. And that contour is right about here, existing on the site. And it does that. And with that, the rest of the sheets here in the set are more technical drawings of the grading and drainage design, and here are cross sections of the site, which we can get into if desired, but I think I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions.
I've got to find my sheets. Wait a minute.
Well, Jim, while you're doing that, I have a quick question. Julia, what's the material in the sort of elliptical oval shaped area in the middle there?
That's planned to be decomposed granite, so permeable surface. Let me go to the landscape plan. Sorry, give me 1 second. Oh, we didn't call it out here, but yes, that is intended to be a decomposed granite.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is Jim. I was looking at starting at the bottom, I guess, your trash enclosure, monument sign, they look fine. The entry gate, you're going to be using the stone that you're describing earlier on either side.
Yes.
And then what's the gate? That gate's made out of, is it wood?
Yes, vertical wood stained board. So large, probably 2x10 boards set into a metal frame.
Are you going to put a cap on top of, in some way on top of the stone? What's your plan
Yes,
on
you can.
capping it?
You can see kind of there's that dark line there. So the I'll go into the plan view, but really,
That's okay.
yes.
That looks really good. The house is very clean. Building 4 and nice. One thing I have to say in general is that it's all the buildings, or most of the buildings, are stucco with a fairly light color. You're going to be able to see that for miles, and so probably we want darker colors. It looks like you've got about 3-foot overhangs on the building 4. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes, let me go to the roof plan to give you an absolute answer.
It looks about 3 feet, which is nice overhang for that. And you get some nice shades and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's 4.5 feet.
But a little bit further, 4.5 feet.
Oh, that's even much better.
On the north and south sides, and then just over 2 feet on the east and west sides.
The east and west sides, one of them has windows on it. 2 feet might be enough, but take a look at 3 feet. You might get better shadows.
Sure. Especially here.
Yeah. Then go into the main buildings. You had a lot of texture on the original design that is gone now. It's a very clean stucco on building number whatever.
1 and 2.
Yeah. And like let's see, building number, the one with the spandrel glass, that one on the corner.
Yes.
A couple of things about that is that it's got a high forehead, the building.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you run the roof the way you ran it? Why didn't you run it the other direction to lower the profile in the front? Did you think about doing it that way?
You mean long ways?
No. You've got the slope running toward the back of the building, whatever. So have you thought about turning it around and running the slope the other direction? Yeah, like that.
Right. We had, and the preference, while you said it has a bit of a forehead, the preference was to see more of the face of the building rather than to look more at the standing seam roof profile.
You're not going to really see the standing seam when you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be looking below it, and the proportions are going to be much shorter. And you can also use that roof to help with the problem that you've got in sun control on that window in the corner, which has none. Just a suggestion or something to look into.
Mm-hmm.
But the sun control is another thing too. You have an opportunity to do something there, and there isn't any sun control at all. It's a void. It's a negative space.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you might want to look into this. There's Bobby's truck.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No problem.
You might want to look
Drew
into
had a couple of questions.
the sun control issues there, and there's an opportunity that you could take advantage of, maybe.
Okay.
But other than that, it's a nice clean building, and the color is another issue, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be helpful. We didn't prepare it for this presentation, but we have the model and the terrain done in 3D, and I'd love to share, what the scale of the buildings does look like from 246, because and that's why I kind of wanted to start with what the street view was.
You mean in terms of color?
Well, in terms of color and scale. For example, the house is a light gray color, and it's
in general, when you have a light color in an area like that, it's going to read as bright white when the sun hits it, and it's going to also be very visible. It's going to be something you can. It's a little pinpoint, and so a darker color is generally preferred. Which way do you have? There's 3 large buildings that are around the courtyard. Which way do the roofs slope on each? I'm going to go back to that. On each one. One slopes.
Yeah, so I'll do some arrows here.
There you go. Building 3, which way does the roof slope on that one?
This one slopes. So the arrow is pointing to the high side.
So building 3, it's got the low side facing the courtyard.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. And then, sorry, building 4 slopes that way.
Yeah, building 4 is a cute little building. Also, the overhang proportions on building 4, I mean, in terms of the scale, it's got a nice big hat on it. The other ones are much more petite because the building's a lot bigger. So it reads a little bit differently, but anyway,
we could look at increasing those, certainly. And
Yeah.
just see and look at that solar.
not to try to imitate it, but to give it some hat and some shadows, and so forth, that you're going to want to, because it's very simple. It has to be done just right. That's all I've got so far.
Thank you.
Hey, Julie, what are the setback lines that are indicated on your site plan? The 200 foot?
So you can see here is the 100-foot setback right here. And then this was the 200-foot setback.
And what's the purpose of that 200 foot setback?
Boy, let me go into I'd have to pull up actually, I might have it in my binder right here. Here we go. So 100-foot setback is structures and outdoor use areas associated with the winery shall provide a minimum setback of 100 feet from adjacent lots. This setback shall be increased to 200 feet if the winery includes public tours, public wine tasting, retail sales, or special events. And so that's why we put that 200-foot setback in, is just to indicate where building 4 complies with that 200-foot setback. But it's not meant to say that all of the buildings associated with the winery use need to comply. It's something that Shannon and I have gone back and forth with.
I like that you went out on a good day to get those site pictures where we've still got green.
Yeah.
I personally don't have any issue with the color, only because, I mean, with the existing residence out there being as light as it is, I think the buildings, or 3 buildings, would complement that. I also think that, in my opinion, when you do go out on a good day and you've got a lot of green and you have a lot of green on the vines and stuff, that it just makes it a little bit more inviting to know, oh, I can see the buildings from 246. That's the direction I have to go, type of thing. I like the color on the barn building that you've chosen to go back to a more rural application on that. So I personally have no issues with the colors at all. I do like the overall design of everything, and I appreciate the fact that you gotten away from the 2-story buildings and then just kind of created a courtyard for that. I understand, looking at your grading plan, that you've got about 10,000 yards of cut that you're going to disperse along in the ag portions of it.
That was a challenge. What really is driving that, and I'll just zoom into this diagram right here, is really trying to create a safe working environment for the tractors, for the forklifters. They're coming off of these 2 adjacent vineyards, and any cross slopes or slopes greater than, say, that, I think we said 7% is the steepest, and it's just right here as you drop down from the access road here into the property. That was a real big concern of Justin's, was making this a real simple and safe environment to operate the equipment in. And so there's the trade-off.
Now, besides the tractor traffic, are you gonna have truck traffic as well going through there?
That was only accommodating for CAL FIRE, their emergency vehicles. But no, everything that's, oh, well, there will be a bottling truck. Yes.
Well, that's all I have for now.
Well, this is Steve. I'd also like to compliment you on this project. I think it's a nice improvement from the previous one by lowering the scale down. And I'm with Michael. I don't have any problem with the colors either. I think that the lighter colors are much better for the energy and everything associated with that. And the one thing maybe is that you could develop that center oval area maybe as a seating area or some trellises out there or something like that to make it sort of more inviting and maybe more useful for, I don't know, picnics or whatever. So, and other than that, I like what you've done with this. I think it's an improvement from the previous one, and I'm good with it.
Bobby or Kevin, do you have any thoughts on the project?
No, I'm good.
I had one really minor one, and that's on the plant list. Coffee berry produces berries that attract birds, and that's kind of the last thing you want when you're adjacent to vineyards like that. So maybe reconsider that one.
Okay. Thank you for looking at the palette.
One other minor little comment: when you come back, make sure you show us where you're planning on putting your joints and your stucco to work all that out, because that's going to be a lot of it's going to be something that's important.
Okay.
Eric or Leah, do we have any speaker slips on this one?
Mr. Chair, I do not have any requests to speak on this item.
Well, I believe you guys are agendized for conceptual review. Looking at the project overall, I have no issue with you guys working with the planner and coming back for preliminary. I think, looking at the list of concerns we've had the first time, we've addressed everything on those items that relate to this new configuration. Providing the site sections was pretty important as far as the first review is concerned. So I appreciate you bringing in the grading plan and your consultant on that to provide those. If the board, I don't see why you just can't come back for preliminary review next time.
Okay.
Does the board or the applicant have any further comment on this?
Just when you do come back, maybe something also with how you're planning to do those retractable trellis covers.
Sure. And then can we expect, the last time we came for the previous design, we had, kind of a I call it a pink slip, so to speak. But will we be receiving any follow-up comments in writing from you all? I've been taking my own notes, but just to make sure that when we do come back, we've addressed or responded to items that have come up today.
Mr. Chair, do you mind if I step in for just a sec?
Yeah, that was a really good question. That's the first time I've heard about that. This Zoom stuff.
Julia, the draft for this meeting will be available to the planner probably on Monday or Tuesday. So you can go ahead and email her and she can get those over to you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Michael, is it possible that we can agendize this for next one to do preliminary final?
I think the only if I think if the details are there, then yeah, I think that's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because this is a vast improvement from what you presented before, so I would almost consider this preliminary. But yeah, work with your planner
Okay.
and your team to get the required details that we'll need for consideration of final on this.
Definitely.
So in other words, it would be possible to agendize for a preliminary final if that's the route they want to go.
Yeah, I think as long as
And if assuming everything is there, of course.
Yeah, assuming everything is there and the decision makers are happy with it, so I'm good.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the second item on today's agenda. Item number 21, agenda item number 2, BAR number 21-00126, the 92nd G25th Cannabis Cultivation Area in Norfolk. If the team can go ahead and introduce themselves for the record, you can go ahead and begin your presentation.
Okay, good morning. My name is Troy White with TW Land Planning and Development, the project planner. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Also with me today, we have Jay Preto, who represents project ownership, and then Aaron Carroll, our landscape architect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see. Share screen. And we'll do, okay, can everybody see the plans here?
Looks good.
Okay, wonderful. So this project site is located at 851 East Highway 246. If you're familiar with the county road yard, it's just to the north and west of the county road yard on Highway 246. It's a 10-acre site. It's zoned Ag 2. It's a former nursery and cut flower farm. And the proposed project is a change of crop going from cut flowers to cannabis. We have 3 proposed 120 square foot sheds. The site will be enclosed by 6 foot tall fencing. And will be accessed via an existing driveway, which will be improved. We have 2 parking locations, one located towards the east, which is on the right-hand side of your screen, and the other being located in the southwest, which is located on the left side of your screen. So this project is subject to a conditional use permit requiring planning commission review. Which is probably why we're before you today. It's a rather simple project, mostly ag under hoops. We've incorporated generous landscaping along the eastern property line along Highway 246, and then also a generous amount of landscaping located along the northern property line adjacent to our neighbors to the north. The neighbors to the north it's a mix of sort of ranching style houses and properties. Everything to the west, east, and south is row crop agriculture. So I can show you, let's see here. This is our landscape plan, and I'll have Aaron Carroll shortly go through the landscape plan in more detail. I'll show you our sheds. These are the 10 by 12 sheds, of which there will be three sheds, all non-habitable, 2 of them utilized for storage of equipment and materials and supplies. One will be equipment, materials, and supplies, but also have an IT server component to host the data storage required by the Canterbury County Sheriff's Department. Let's see here. I've got a color material board. So right now we're looking at the Tough Shed manufacturer. So there's an existing barn on the property. We're not going to be utilizing that, so they'll just remain in place. But we tried to match the color of that barn. And although ultimately, because of these, they're only 12-foot tall sheds. Once the landscaping's grown in, they should not be visible, but ultimately, for sake of consistency, we wanted to have it either a Cherokee red or a brick dust. And as you can see, they're sort of hard to tell the difference between the two. And so ultimately, we'll probably do some color samples out in the field to see what looks best. The trim would be in a delicate white or something akin to that. The siding material for the sheds will be a cedar texture panel, and the roofing material will be a composite shingle, either an onyx black or a Shasta white. We haven't quite figured out which one we'll order. So I'll go back to the plans, and let's see here. And we'll have Aaron explain a little more so about the landscape concept, and then we'll go from there. So Aaron, if you want to plug in,
Sure.
I'd appreciate it.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Good morning, everyone. Aaron Carroll, landscape architect for the project. The concept for the landscaping on this project and the project to the south is to have fragrant plants planted along 246 and also along the north property line. We've got plants like osmanthus, jasmine, pittosporum, Matilla hot poppy. All these plants have fragrance at certain times of year, and the idea behind that is to mask the scent of the cannabis cultivation. On the northwest and south property lines, we've got a mix of native pine trees and coast live oak trees, as well as some native vines growing on the fence. And the neighbor to the north has a well-established row of Peruvian pepper trees as well. So we have some off-site screening as well. So the site should be fully screened from all sides. And one thing to note, on the south side of the property, we've got less density of tree planting, and the reason for that is because we're doing the same amount of trees on the project to the south. So we will in fact have just as dense of a tree planting along that south property line once both projects are installed. The irrigation is all drip, and we comply with the MWELO for this project. I think that's covers most of the landscaping. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
You mentioned that there was going to be another project adjacent to it.
So related to that, if I may interject, so this project is subject to a conditional use permit, which is why it's before you today. There's a project to the south, which mirrors a lot of what you're seeing here. That was subject to an LEP, which has been approved, and which was not required to go before in BAR. So that one had 320 square foot sheds. You know, and the similar setback from the highway. So these two projects will mirror each other.
And you're going to put additional planting around that one?
There will be additional planting along that as well, correct. Because they're independent projects, ideally, of course, there wouldn't be trees in between along that southern fence line. But because they're two independent projects and there's no guarantee of one going forward versus the other, in working with staff, they asked that we provide that windrow of trees along the southern property line. And so that's why we have a four-sided landscape screening.
Is Kevin available for this one?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. It's just that my only comment before you get into the book is that it's very uniform. The planting is very regular and in a line, very unnatural. On the south line in particular, and it's also on the which side is that? The west side. It's very linear as well. It seems as it should be a more natural arrangement somehow. That's my only comment. Oh, and that it should be indigenous to the area, the planting.
I can't really see the legend because on the screen here, but I would think if there's a variety of trees, you're going to get some height and some textural and color difference in there, Jim. But you know, these projects are really constrained with availability of planting space. Yeah, the bishop pine and the coast live oak. Could you guys consider adding in a third species?
Sure.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay.
And I've got some alternate trees called out there on the legend. One of those could be our third species.
Where is that alternate trees?
Under the notes, we've got a Catalina cherry, Monterey cypress, and island oak called out as alternates.
The island oak, I think, would be a really good choice because it's a brighter green. Yeah, any of those I think would work for you to add in that. Oh, there it is on the right-hand side, a natural form alternate. Yeah, if you could mix it up a bit, I think that would help you a lot with Jim's concern.
Okay.
Yeah, happy to do that.
On the off of 246, what is your screening there? You know, besides the 6-foot fence and the shrubbery in front, the fragrant flowers in front.
Could we go to the
Yeah.
the rendering from 246? There we go. So in the back, the highest planting along 246 would be the pittosporum, and then we've got some osmanthus, some Matilla hot poppy, some star jasmine, some lavender, all fragrant plants. So that's a 3D rendering of what you'd see from 246.
What you expect it to be once it matures.
I'm sorry, say again?
That's what you expect it to be once it matures.
Yeah, that's at approximately 5 years maturity. And the pittosporums will get 15, 20 feet high if we let them grow as trees. And they're very fragrant when they're blooming.
With the amount of plants up there, are you concerned at all about contamination? Is there a possibility?
In terms of the cannabis grow?
Correct.
I brought that up early in the process, and the ownership was not concerned with that.
Does any of the other board members have any other comment on this one?
So this is Steve. You wouldn't propose any signage out there in that near that driveway, or consider maybe some trees somewhere in the front, sort of break it up and like give a little verticality out there. I know you said that the one plant gets about 15 to 20 feet if you let it go, but maybe integrating some of those some of the tree species that you're proposing for the sides, which I don't know if those are depicted on this photo or this rendering. They would be significantly taller along the east side there, or the south side, I guess it is. Other than that, what is the material of the gate? What are you proposing for that?
So the gate will be a chain link gate. Let me show you that. Let's see. That gate will be set back approximately 100 feet from the highway. You see right there,
Right.
in the northeast corner.
I see that. And those are refuge containers. They're sort of slightly to the, I guess that's the south.
To the south.
Well, maybe, I'm not sure. I don't see the north arrow on here, but.
So these three, those are the sheds.
Oh, those are the sheds. Okay.
The 320 square foot sheds.
Gotcha. Correct. Okay.
And you have no plans for the barn at all?
No, it's given its age, thinking of touching it just gets complicated. So we're just gonna not use it, and it'll just remain a structure in the middle of the property.
I would suggest on your shed, the shed color, the trim color, that you think of a different color. It's a little Christmassy. I like the red, but you might.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the barn, I was just trying to, match some of the colors that were there. I'm happy to, we can do grays. There's no pride of ownership in colors. We're just trying to match what's there. But if the board isn't interested in trying to match what's there, we can go with, and this is a structure that'll be demoed. But that's a little more close up of the colors that are,
Yeah, go back to the barn. What they didn't trim out. It's not a trimmed out white. It's a little too prissy, but if you try to trim something like that, or your trim pieces on that little shed, you might even try a darker color. Then there's all sorts of options.
Okay.
I think it looked little. I didn't realize it was next to the road originally, but I'd pick a different color.
I mean, I'm happy to go with like a battleship gray and a contrasting darker color, which just sort of blends in. If
that could be very handsome.
Okay.
And what color roof are you doing?
Well, there's not many. If we end up going, we're going back and forth whether to build it ourselves or whether to order it. Ordering, obviously, there's a backlog in time. Let's see here, but it would either be an onyx black or a Shasta white. But if we went with like a battleship gray with the darker contrast in color, we'd probably go with. Well, I guess we talked to the ownership. The white, obviously, it's a cooler color. It attracts less sun. Black is provides more of a contrast. So I don't know if you have a preference one way or the other.
What are you storing in it? It's just
So
Gardening equipment.
we'll have ag equipment, supplies, materials. So a couple, a few gallons of different types of herbicides.
If it was me, I'd just use the darker one, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a solid black. It could be some of those. I think there's another color there. It's dark bark or something like that. That's primarily very dark brown.
Okay. So something in the darker
Options.
shades.
Yeah, I think so
Your
too.
preference.
yeah, it'd make it go away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, didn't you indicate that one of the sheds is going to have your track and trace equipment in there?
Yes, that's correct.
So probably you're going to need to either insulate that or provide a cooler roof for it, I would think.
You may have to condition it.
I've talked. It's 120 square feet. It's either it's an ag exempt or a U occupancy, and we're going back and forth with the building and fire department trying to classify. Typically, it would be an exempt structure, and so we're trying to determine how to classify it. But in talking with the security folks, they've indicated that it doesn't need to be a conditioned structure.
Okay. And as long as it doesn't degrade the equipment that's in there. I mean, you're right with the size of the building itself, but I was just more concerned about the electronics that are being stored inside.
We are in the floodplain, so there will be cutouts in the bottom of these to allow for these things to sink and not float in the event of a 100-year flood. And so that there will be some level of air circulation within the structure as a result.
That's interesting. Sounds like an opportunity for little critters to get in.
Yeah, obviously, we'll have, screening to prevent that. But otherwise, in order to make these, if we want to make them habitable, they'd be floating 12 feet in the air, or we'd have to somehow flood proof them. And for a simple ag site, it just doesn't make sense.
Who's your planner on this?
Gwen Byler.
Does staff have any comment on this project?
Michael, I have one more comment to make.
Okay.
I couldn't really see the frontage in detail, but all I would suggest is do some layering with some trees so you get some height in there. I realize that the pits will eventually get high, but if you had some trees across there, I think it would help it a lot.
Sure. Yeah, happy to do that.
Also, the frontage looks like it's going to be a continuation. It abruptly stops kind of. So I assume that's what you're doing on your next property, is continuing the same stuff down Highway 246.
We won't have the trees, but although we can certainly look to integrate those, but it'll be the same landscape palette as you see here.
And there's no currently there's no landscaping there, right?
Yeah, right now, let's see. This is what you have right now.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So obviously this will be a huge, upgrade, but this is it's all farming, right? This is North County farming, just along the highway, row crops. So we'll look a little different, a little more polished, with all the landscaping. But hopefully that's appreciated by this board and by the community.
Caltrans weighed in on this?
Caltrans, we've been in communication with them relative to the property to the south, and so we'll be doing a new formal paved driveway apron for them. And of course, our landscaping, we just need to be mindful of the site triangles, and so we just can't place trees and things that will obstruct folks' vision as they're leaving the property. So that'll be a part of our consideration in siting.
That and the power lines.
And the power lines, of course, as well. Yeah.
Is your next project next to it about the same amount of frontage on 246?
Yeah, and that's actually we're under construction right now. So fencing's up, hoops are being installed right now. Sheds will hopefully be there soon enough, and we're almost done with the Caltrans process. So then we'll start the driveway apron.
Does the board have any additional comments at this time?
Eric Gomez, board member Small. I was hoping that you might repeat your last comment. As you said, mentioned if you could place trees across what section of the site? Sorry.
The road frontage, the public view.
Thank you. And then board member McGlynte, did you need a comment from staff? I know Gwen Baylor is not here today, but was there something in particular that you had a question about?
No, I just wanted to know if she had anything to say on the project itself.
Understood.
Yeah, no, we've been having weekly calls with Gwen, and she's been excellent to work with. She was our planner on the property to the south, so she's very familiar with the project and the concept and the property. So look forward to continuing to work with her as we head towards Planning Commission, and ultimately return to this board post PC.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, this is about all we get. So, well, if the board has no other comment at this time, I think just take these into consideration, and then I guess we won't see you again until after the Planning Commission meeting, right?
Mr. Chair?
Is that correct? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry for the interruption. And I might have completely missed it because I had to leave the room for a minute, but did we already take public comment on this item?
I was about to ask that, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Do you have any speaker slips on this one?
I don't, but we do have Lisa attending the meeting. I'm just gonna go ahead and unmute her. I know that Gwen sent her an email a few minutes ago responding to all the questions that she had, but I just wanted to give her the opportunity to speak if she had any lingering concerns.
Please be mindful that we will limit comments to 3 minutes or less. And if she wishes to make a statement at this time, she can.
Okay, Lisa, it looks like you're unmuted. So if you'd like to make a statement, feel free to. If not, then that's totally fine as well. All right, Mr. Chair, I think we're good to go.
Okay. Well, and that is the course, right? They'll go in front of the Planning Commission and come back to us after, right?
That is correct.
Then, if I may ask a question, would we then presumably return for preliminary final, given the sort of the simplicity of the project?
Yeah, I think you can work that out with Gwen, but
Okay.
yeah, that would be my preference.
Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Great day, great weekend to you all. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to item number 3 on today's agenda. DR number 2100011, the Bradley Gardens Garage Edition. If the applicant is ready to go ahead and present his team members, and we will begin.
Mr. Chair, I need to recuse from this project because Mr. Vernon's an ongoing client of mine right now.
Well, with that said, Kevin, have a great weekend.
Okay. Thank you.
See you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Is the applicant available?
Hello, this is Sean Rydnow with Air Studio Architects. I believe today it will just be myself representing the project. Kind of a continuation of the last meeting. We're hoping to get final approval today with additional details and information requested the last meeting.
You want, yeah, there were 4 items on that. If you want to begin with those, and then we can continue on with the remainder of your presentation.
Share my screen here. All right. Can you see my screen?
You can.
All right. So just a refresher, this is a modification of previously approved garage building. The original design was just this garage here. The ownership would like to add a maintenance portion to the back due to the size of the project as they've gone and it's been built. It's what they need. I think the primary concern before was with the adjacent neighbor and the height of the building. All of that, with talking with the planner, with Eric, falls within zoning approval. We've provided a couple of spot references here just to kind of show the grading. So the neighbor concern here is about 458-ish, and we're pretty close to the same finish floor elevation. So the site kind of drops off as we go down towards Village Drive.
Sean, has this changed at all from the last time?
No, the building itself we have not changed, and the configuration. So what we've, as discussed prior, I think the board was leaning towards approval with bringing in a landscape plan and additional architectural details.
Wasn't there also a comment about some concerns raised by the neighbors with regards to the existing garages inside?
Yes, as far as those are concerned, you know, those garages aren't completed yet, so they have not been rented out at all. And I do not believe ownership would like to is renting those out to anyone other than residents of the development.
Yeah, so it's part of their lease.
Right. It's kind of an add-on to if you need a garage, you put a request, and I'm sure with the limited number of garages, they'll go fast.
And is it limited to the people that live there? Just out of curiosity.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're and this is Eric Gomez again. They are required to only be used by the residents living on site. So what I've informed the neighbor about is that this is an issue that you know, if they observe it happening, can be raised to our permit compliance. It's not allowed by code for them to be renting out to people living off site.
Good to know.
I think I can jump to the landscape plan. This wasn't provided prior. The goal was to add, you know, as many trees as we can get on this backside to kind of help shield the building from the neighbor. I think these are pines. And then we have coastal oak along Village Drive here. So, you know, the idea is just to, you know, get it really landscaped as much as possible.
Was his concern about the view over the top of the building from his second story?
I think the main concern was the view of the building.
Is that a 2-story house that he's in?
Yes, they are.
Is pine the best thing to put there?
You know, we could look at any other option within the palette in the project. You know,
I
if
mean, they could end up being giant trees.
yeah, so
Well, they're noted as protocarpus on the schedule.
I might have looked at the wrong one. But yeah, fern pine.
How
Yeah.
big did they get?
Is the plant palette you're using consistent with what the apartments are using?
Yeah, it's a continuation, just a modification of that palette, what was previously approved.
How big do those particular pine trees get? Do we know?
I do not know. I have my landscape architect on board today. So, if you have any, any particular questions on architectural detailing or
The detailing, you just added all of the standard details for the tract on it, right? And then you just attached. They're just
yeah.
standard for the whole enchilada.
I can spot out particularly like the roof details and the
That's
other
your typical.
details.
That's your typical roof, right? The corrugated.
Yes, corrugated metal roof. That's typical for all the garage buildings. Kind of highlighted them here. So at the high roof, exposed eaves here. They kind of vary through the project. Some of them are fire rated just because of proximity to property line, but these will be exposed. Same thing with the rakes and the eave detailing. And the window detailing, standing board and batten and stucco at the base for this building, and fiber cement siding and plaster. Yeah, those are the main details. I can jump back to the color board just for the refresher here.
And the color board is pretty much, is that the color of all of your the gray? Is that what the other ones are going to be?
It varies. There are different buildings have different palettes, but this is consistent with one of the palettes from another building on site.
Isn't there one right next to it as well? Is it going to be the same color?
I believe it is a different color.
Oh.
Just kind of helps wayfinding for residents.
Okay.
Having a variety of different colors for the different types of buildings.
How tall is your building?
We have.
I see that your plate heights are, 12 feet. But I was kind of curious as to that ridge height, that eave height up there.
Oh, I had that on here. It's get that here, approximate height here. About 17.5 at the top.
18 feet.
Yeah.
Looking at that fir pine, according to Google, it grows 12 to 36 inches a year, but can be trimmed to grow no more than 20 feet tall.
right.
Yeah, Sunset says it's basically a 20 to 60 foot tall, 10 to 20 foot diameter, but can be controlled, clean, pest free, good for streets, lawns, patios.
And soil.
So maybe that would be a good one, huh?
Yeah, so I mean, as long as you maintain it, yeah, you keep it at under 30 feet.
And Aaron, on his on his roof, the one that's facing him, does he have any roof equipment, fans, or penetrations up there?
No, anything we have, there's probably going to be plumbing penetrations where they occur. But any mechanical units will be ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who prepared the landscape plan for this project? Was that
This
Kevin?
is Firma.
Oh, okay.
They're the original landscape architects of the project.
The only thing I would say about the Protocarpus is it's not a low water type of tree. Is that you guys have that on site already?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the rest of it, but there might be. I mean, the other option is to use one of the other trees there, like the coastal oak.
I don't have enough knowledge of landscape material
Yeah.
to give you an opinion on that one.
Yeah, I mean, looking at just a small snippet of the existing landscape palette, it doesn't. It is mixed in the existing apartments already, so as far as continuity is concerned, it's probably a fine choice.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Leah, do we have any speaker slips on this particular project?
Mr. Chair, I do not have any requests to speak, and we do not have any attendees attending the meeting right now.
Can we go back to the elevation for a moment? And what was the roof material? What was the color of it? Was it galvanized?
It is galvanized.
Is this the same material you have on some of the outbuildings that you have out there right now?
Correct. Yeah,
I only live
assembly.
about a couple blocks from there, so.
You have that on some of the apartments too, don't you?
No, all the apartments are corrugated. I mean, composition shingle.
Yeah, it's compo.
I thought the first part was, well, maybe not.
Oh, the what would they call the Park West side? There have corrugated metal.
Yeah, so it's in
a
that
little sheds. Yeah,
it's in the neighborhood, let's say.
Yeah,
right.
There's
All
some
the-
little sheds or little outbuildings out there that have that corrugated single slope roof similarly.
Yeah, if we look at the overall site plan here, this is that Park West side, the little more modern looking buildings.
They use that material.
Yeah, but all these garages along here are all the same corrugated metal.
Yeah, you just completed construction of some of those, right?
Yeah, there's these two here and
Or under construction, right?
Yeah, the rec building and the cabana are all under construction.
I'll have to go see the rec building.
Yeah, it's got a great volume at the entry there, 2-story volume.
Okay, I have no additional questions.
Any other members have any other questions? Bobby must be sleeping. Okay, with no other speakers, with no request to speak, and the board being satisfied with the changes and have no further comment on this, I would like to get a motion for final approval.
I will make the motion that we approve this project for final approval.
Can I get a second?
Me too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, well, thank you for your time and your presentation, and good luck to you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Get with Eric and get everything stamped and stuff like that. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Leah, do we have any closing statements?
Nope. Just my gratitude for going so quickly through this meeting.
Now,
Granted.
with regards to the in-person meetings, have they contacted you in any way about that schedule?
You know what? We got a quick update after the joint chairs meeting, but nothing has really been set in stone, and I really haven't heard any updates since then. But I do believe that BARs will be kind of like the second tier to come back in person. I think the priority is going to be bringing PC back in person. And then once we work out all the bugs with that, I think they'll jump on to BARs, and then some of the less visible meetings will come back in person as well. So you guys don't have to be the guinea pigs this time.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I'll ask for a motion to close this meeting.
Yes, I do.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. And you guys have a good weekend.
You too.
Steve, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.